apples. If you can't find anything that seems like a baking apple like a Rome or a Cortland, you can go with all Granny Smith. But I like to do a combination of Granny Smith for tanginess, a little bit of McIntosh if you can find it. Choose a combination of apples. I like some that are sort of tart and firm, like a Granny Smith is very tart, but it's not that firm. McIntosh has classic apple flavor, but it cooks down to a mush, so you don't want to fill an apple pie with McIntosh, but it's nice to have a little bit if you can get some, just for flavor. You can also use like a Gala or a Golden Delicious because they actually hold up really well, but they don't have that intense apple flavor. So you want to do a mix. Peel your apples, obviously, and then you want to cut them into between 1/2 inch and 1/4 inch slices. I usually just cut around the core. I know that's the lazy person's way. I should use a corer, but this is fast, and this calls for 4 pounds of apples. It's a lot of apples to cut up. Slice into between 1/2 inch and 1/4 inch slices or wedges. Cutting apples for days. Then you want to add 3 tablespoons of lemon juice. It's a lot of apples, so you're going to add a lot of lemon juice. Squirted lemon juice all over myself. Better than chocolate, that's what I say. To that, add 1/2 cup of sugar. Then you need 5 tablespoons of all-purpose flour. That's for thickening. You don't want to leave that out because your pie juices, the apples will cook out and nothing there to thicken them. They'll just make your pie soggy. 1 1/4 teaspoons of ground cinnamon. This is quite a cinnamony pie. It's a very classic flavor. If you like less, go ahead and use less. 1/4 teaspoon of nutmeg, and then 1/4 teaspoon of coarse salt. Mix everything together. Smell of apple with cinnamon. Have your oven preheating to 450 degrees right now because you're going to want to start baking this at a really high temperature. This is a 9-inch pie plate lined with pâte brisée. I have a recipe for making pie crust on the site, so you can go ahead and watch that if you want to. I recommend it. Please make your own crust. Please, please, please. I beg you, if there's one thing you do in life, make your own pie crusts. Don't buy it. Unless you know of some like secret amazing place to buy incredible all butter flaky pie crust, then you can buy it. But then you also have to tell me where that is. So this is going to pile up really, really high, which is super duper dramatic. I feel like I can't fit any more apples in. 4 tablespoons of butter, unsalted butter, cut into little pieces. This enriches and also helps with the thickening of the juices of your pie. So dot the top with butter. It's an extra a lot of apples, so it's kind of an extra a lot of butter too. I usually use about 2 tablespoons, but I'm going all out and using 4. Pile that on top. All right, get this in the fridge for a sec because my pie crust is getting a little soft, so I'm gonna roll out the top. Time to roll out the crust. Dust your surface with flour. And then this is another disc. So full recipe of pâte brisée makes 2 discs, enough for a double crusted pie. You want to keep it cool but pliable for rolling. And then I like to roll, turn, roll, turn. Keep turning it, roll back and forth, turn, and that should keep it in a relatively round shape. It'll all work out in the end, I promise. You want to make sure that there's plenty of flour on your surface so nothing sticks, but not too much that you end up with excess flour on your dough when you put it on top of your pie. Keep it cool. If it starts getting too warm, put it into the refrigerator and just let it chill for a few minutes, because if it gets too warm, when you lift it up, it's going to break. You're going to start crying, I guarantee it. Many a person has been brought to tears by their pie dough, but you just really have to like be confident. Do not let the dough conquer you. Conquer the dough. You want to make sure that it's nice and evenly rolled, not too thick in spots and thin in other spots. You want it all about the same thickness, which should be about 1/8 of an inch. I think this is good. I'm going to go get the pie and cover it up. Okie doke. Chilled up really nicely just in that time that I was rolling the dough. This seems like it's gonna fit on top. I'm gonna roll a tiny bit more here. Okay, lift it up, drape it over the top, and then just go around the edges, sort of pat it down. Look how covered in flour I am. I use my whole arm to lift that up. What I like to do is go around, squeeze the crusts, the top layer and the bottom layer together, just to sort of get them together, and then go around and trim. You want to trim to about, I'd say, about an inch. Scissors work the best for this. I know some people like to use a paring knife, and that's fine if that's your preferred tool, but I don't like using it. It doesn't work well for me. Don't throw away your pie crust scraps. You can sprinkle them with cinnamon sugar and bake them on the side of your pie for little snacks. Go around your crust. Fold. I like to fold under to seal, like that. Make sure it's really nicely sealed. And then you can crimp it if you want to. You can actually just leave it like this, but I like to crimp the edges. Go around thumb and forefinger, and then press in with your other forefinger around the edges. If it's sticking a little, just dust your finger with a little bit of flour. Now, when you bake it, it's gonna bake down a little bit. Those apples definitely cook down, but you'll still have this amazing high dome. Okie doke. Now for beauty purposes really only, you're gonna brush this with egg wash. This is an egg yolk whisked with a little bit of cream. This adds beautiful goldenness to your crust. Okay, and then for sparkliness and a little additional hit of sugar, sprinkle with sanding sugar or regular sugar on the top. And then so that when it's baking, it doesn't steam inside, you want to cut some vents, and that will allow the steam to release as the pie is baking so that the crust stays nice and crisp and that the apples aren't sitting in a pile of soup in the end. Now what you want to do is, so this holds the shape when it gets into the oven and the butter is nice and cold, refrigerate it for 30 minutes before you put it in the oven. And then you put it on a baking sheet, bake it at 400 for 20 minutes, reduce the temp to 350, and bake it until it's fully golden on the bottom. That can take anywhere from 40 minutes to an hour more. Check the bottom. Make sure to check the bottom or you're not going to know if it's done. Bubbling in the center, golden on the bottom. Then you'll know. Your final challenge, and maybe the biggest challenge of all, is waiting for it to cool before you slice it. You want to give it at least 3 hours to cool. I know, torture, right? I'm giving myself the proper time, so I'm just going to stand here and wait and enjoy the amazing smells wafting up out of this old-fashioned apple pie.